Good morning. 9:21 on Sunday, June 19th, 2016 in Sarasota, Florida. This is the first recording on a brand new recorder, so I did try to read the books, but I just rather jump in and figure it out as I go. I was about to call my mom, as there are fewer and fewer people in my world right now. In fact, I'm sort of stupefied by how short the list is when I compare it in my own life to just a few years ago. The list of people in my life that knew enough about what my life was at the present moment that, I don't know, I could find some sort of solace or support from reaching out and talking. And in the past few years, I've done way, way, way less talking, again, as compared only to myself and my old story, and way more doing. I don't regret the talking. The talking and the brainstorming and the seeking of validation is what got the doing this far. And the doing is, further than I've ever gone, more than I've ever, quote unquote, done. In terms of purpose, like really being aware and conscious and not reactionary to my life, not going through with some sort of plan that was never my own, and as a result, not having real purpose to my efforts, to my extreme efforts. And if my awakening resulted in only one thing, it has resulted in 100% conscious living. I am fully responsible, not only as Alyson, not only in this body, in this vessel, in this life am I responsible for this life, but the greater part of myself that I now know exists, my soul, the part of me that is beyond Alyson, that part of me holds responsibility for the stuff that the human part of me can't even begin to comprehend, which is a lot of stuff. I'd argue the biggest stuff, the best stuff, our human minds can't comprehend. They're not intended to comprehend. We're intended to co-create. And as such, you recognize when you're in human and what you can do on this human third dimension inform platform, and when it's time to rise above to the spirit and surrender and let go. I have been dancing this dance, riding this ride, really. It's still way more of a ride than a dance, but it's definitely becoming more of a dance as each day passes. But I've been doing this at this level of awareness now for 5 years. Five years. June 29th is when I landed in Seattle 5 years ago. 5 years. And each day, I am more and more integrated with my spirit self. But the challenge and the human suffering that's resulting within me, the human part of me, and the amount of pain that I still feel in my heart is illogical to me when I rise to that spirit level. I know it's not supposed to be painful. I know at any given moment, I can choose for it to not be painful. There's something about this story that's coming through my life that's meant to be shared about understanding this suffering that we cause ourselves, because we really do cause it ourselves. So I have to continue to follow the guidance of analyzing myself to this greatest degree, with the sole intention of doing so in an effort to be able to share with others via my story what I hope to be a way to make less suffering, a choice, an obvious choice to go down a different road. It doesn't ever remove suffering completely. I don't think living a fully enlightened life in form means there's never, that all sadness disappears, because life still happens. Unexpected things that are undesirable are still going to happen. But it's learning how to fully feel when those things happen, feel the layers in the present moment, not to be afraid, not to feel like you have to numb it. Learn how to feel it in a way where you're fully in the moment, and as such, I suppose it could be argued attached to what's going on, but in a very paradoxical way, you're also simultaneously learning how to be unattached. And I am still very much navigating that road. And more, I can feel that I need to let go more and let this mind, my incessantly obsessed mind, be more and more quiet, and surrender more to the higher energy that I know is guiding my life, that I have been very consciously working with now for 5 years. Already I'm off on a tangent. I was going to call my mom. I mean, there's, honest to God, I mean, I've got a handful of people that should I really, I don't know if the shit really hit the fan, right? Like if I was really on the metaphorical or literal edge, I've got, quite a few people that I think in that extreme scenario would come. But I'm not about living any longer as an example of helping one another, or creating a situation where we're just helping one another to survive. I believe in a world of thriving. I believe it is right here in front of us, all of us. And it's a combination of taking responsibility in your human form and letting go in the spirit. And learning that balance is it's challenging, and there's not a lot of teaching of it or examples of it going on or speaking of it even in these ways. And on top of that, even though there are generalities, as with everything, it's such a unique experience. Like, it is so unique to your story. In your story, because the details of your story on the surface might look like just like somebody else, but somebody else isn't wired like you. Only you know how you're wired. So even if all the details are the quote unquote the same, the fact that you're wired differently means what a choice for one person absolutely positively may not be the right choice for another. We have to learn how to dial in to ourselves and know our own energy and ourselves like the back of our hand. I'm glad I finally picked this up, but I don't even know if it's still recording. I don't even know what these buttons, is it still recording? Yeah, it is. God, I'm just 5 days. I've had 5 full days home. 5 days, and I only have 35 days off. And look at that, even the constant counting, the pressure. I'm trying to honor where I am right now and what I'm feeling, and I am just, it's just amazing, amazing how different I am from 3.5 years ago when I went all in on me. I went all in on me. Fully committed to myself and my vision and my dream. And it was definitely a leap unlike any I had taken. But it was a leap taken, I swear to God, with more faith in myself and more knowing that I was doing the quote unquote right thing, making the right choice for myself. More knowing of that than ever before. And here I am. There's no end point to what I was doing, but the situation created an end point unexpectedly. Wasn't part of my plan to have this sort of built-in endpoint. And I know this endpoint that revealed itself, this story within the story that revealed itself. Shit, I knew on a high level, this was always one of the whoppers that I was living that I knew would be shared. It's the money part. The money story. And the money part of this story is just a part. But shit, man. Money represents value. Value in our world. We are in a massive rebalancing in this reawakening, this awakening, this reawakening of our souls, of our spirit selves, this conscious evolution of becoming better humans. And I will say that, more human, better, more of us. I define better humanity as more people thriving than what are thriving now. We've got a significant portion of the globe barely surviving when we have the technology, the resources, the money, all of it. We have enough that if it was redistributed, and I'm not saying we do that per se, but we have everything we need to enable more people to thrive, except for the human decision to live differently, to be willing to combine resources differently, to be willing to do business differently, to be willing to interact with one another differently, to reclaim our freedom and independence as human beings and recognize these systems we've created. And again, I'm not saying new systems to replace the old are what's necessary, but let's just frame it like that. Yes, let's create new systems. Ultimately, we want a system where we are putting the bar for, you set the bar and people are going to rise to it. And right now, the bar is set at a level that an ant could reach. The sense of entitlement, we've taken away people's, we don't even make it possible for them to we make it too easy for them to push the blame of their lives onto something else, rather than set the bar for responsibility high. And again, I don't have all the answers, but I have the belief and the vision of a world that is very different than this one in the sense of simply recombining resources. And resources get allocated and decisions get made in this paradigm based on value. So we've got to have a bridge going from that to this new earth. There has to be a bridge of understanding value. And the rebalancing of the energy on the planet is a rebalance of feminine energy. And females have to, in order to cross over and create this new earth, we've got to go through the paradigm that we're all in. And the paradigm that we're in is a paradigm of value. And unfortunately, fortunately, it doesn't matter. It just is that money is one of the primary, massive, main factors determining value. So the first thing we need to do is have people with different values in possession of this very powerful resource. And more so, people in possession of this powerful resource that aren't playing the same game. You can't bitch about the system of money and then have all your money in that system. You've got to be willing to take a risk to invest in something different. And it begins with your own life. Take your own resources and reallocate your own resources in a different way. I have been terrified to start recording again because I don't know where to start. I know that last time I don't have any regrets. Regrets are foolish, they're stupid, they're a waste of energy. I don't have regrets, but I do look back in an effort to learn, in an effort to make better choices, in an effort to grow as a human being and as my soul. They go hand in hand. I exposed way too much of myself, way too much, way too soon. Because in this paradigm, people need to see to believe. And if you don't have something seen, you just better be ready to stand in the presence of yourself. And in this case, in the vision that I have, and in all the work and all the results that I know of, but that can't be seen yet by others. And I wasn't ready to do that. Shit, I had barely begun to finally do that, stand tall in myself for the first time since I was 14 years old. I didn't know any better but to shine bright and stand tall and be excellent through middle school. But then some big stuff happened early in high school that caused my light to dim. It's what my soul chose. So I went from being super bright to super, super dark at the depths of me. And breaking that pattern, 25-year pattern, has been the hardest work of my life. I'm not interested in playing the victim. I'm not a victim. My soul chose this life. And everything happened for a greater reason. And I knew that consciously when I was a kid. So now when I look back and retell my story or reconnect the dots in the different, it's glaringly obvious why I landed, why everything happened. And it's beautiful. So why then do I feel right now in this moment the way I feel? Is it because I'm maturing and when I'm super happy and excited, I finally understand that I can't be crazy. I'll blow a gasket because that much of life overwhelms me with its beauty all the time. So if I let myself blow my gasket all the time, I mean, that's not balanced. So is that why I feel so, it's not numbed per se. I'm back to this place of having all these feelings within me for which I have no description. 2.5-year relationship with this man that at times in those 2.5 years, pure magic, pure bliss, absolute knowing that our souls intended to be with one another in this life. But the majority of the time with him has been battling the ego in the human form and what it means to practically live every day as he too awakens. Oh God, he's here. That's crazy. I finally decide, stop. How do I stop?